What up, fam? Welcome back to another episode of the Hypocritical AF podcast. And yet again, for the third straight week, as far as solo episodes go, we have another late episode. And just like I always do, I have an excuse for everything. Try being in a relationship with me. Not the best. But I do have an excuse. And that's because shit went south. You know what I'm saying? Literally. I literally physically, went to Southern California. But I had to go take care of some stuff, and it didn't necessarily go exactly as planned. And what sucks about that, speaking about timing, was I had to cancel last week's episode that I already had kind of locked in, and I had to cancel that one. And then I was anticipating recording again earlier this week, and it just didn't happen, okay? So therefore, it pushed 2 episodes back, which puts me backlogged, which puts me in a position to where I got to be able to do a solo episode now on the weekend coming out late. So now this one's not going to come out till Monday morning, but I'm going to do 2 in a week because I hate missing a week. You know what I'm saying? I hate missing out a week at a time. So I'm going to make sure that 1, this cord is behind me like that. And 2, I'm going to make sure that I do 2 this week. So this week will be 2 coming out. Now, for starters, what I want to preference and put out there is that I learned for some stuff. All right. Everything. Well, I tried to find that. No, not that it's that, but you know how when people say like, oh, everything happens for a reason, or there's a method to this, or there's a reason why things happened, or stuff like that. Right. You always hear those type of things. I don't necessarily believe that everything happens for a reason. I believe that stuff is coincidence. I believe that there are certain things that are just straight up out of our control that just accidentally happened. You know what I mean? I think there's certain things that it was a freaking freak of an accident. I think there's those. But I'm not one of the type that just say specifically, like everything happens for a reason. I don't. That's just me personally. What am I supposed to do? Anyway, I try to find a lesson in everything, or I try to find a learning curve, or I try to find something or pick away some type of goods from any type of situation. You know what I'm saying? I feel like there is no losses, only lessons, no L's, only lessons. You know what I'm saying? I'm pretty sure that's a bar. I'm pretty sure that's from a song, and I'm pretty sure someone way smarter than me or has a bigger vocabulary than me said that. So I don't want to take credit for it, but I'll take credit for using it in this episode. There are always like lessons and things that you can like pick apart and choose, right? So I had orchestrated this thing, and like I said, I'm gonna be careful because I don't want to say everything just yet. I'm waiting on other things to, to take place, and I'm waiting to see what rolls out from it, and then I can go in depth later depending on what the outcome is. But orchestrating stuff. So, as many of you know, and if you don't know, this is me telling you, the podcast, Hypocritical AF, everything about it is ran by me. Now, whether that's booking, scheduling, editing, shooting, recording, producing, editing. Did I say editing already? Just everything that has to do with the podcast, growing the podcast, building the podcast, branding the podcast, merch that still hasn't dropped that I haven't gotten to just yet. Just anything with the podcast, it's all, done through me. And it's the indie route, right? So it's doing shit independently. So there's pros and cons with everything. If you're an independent artist, creative, or just entrepreneur, or does anything like provide services, lashes, eyebrows, microblading, and waxes, stuff like that, right? You know what I'm talking about when I say this. There's good, there's bad, and there's pros and cons, and there's a risk you take, you know what I'm saying, for doing your own thing independently. And in that, there's learning curves. No, I'm still not sold on the learning curves or how to use that, but there's things you can learn from, right? So for me, all right, I orchestrated something that I thought was going to be really cool. You know what I'm saying? It's like a bucket list type of thing. And it was plans and motions, right? And when you don't have a manager, when you don't have a producer, when you don't have this type of thing, you're kind of going everything off of myself and word of mouth. You know what I mean? And when you're dealing with other people who are known, let's just say, some of them go through managers and some of them don't, right? So there's a certain way to, I guess, move, or what's the right way to move, or how to move, or blah, 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 blah. I don't know, because I'm not in, quote unquote, the industry, right? So I orchestrated something and I scheduled something. I paid, just like I said, independent route. I covered all the finances, paid for stuff, and didn't get the ROI. I didn't get the return on investment. Okay. And when I say that, I mean, I'm not saying completely. I'm just saying not yet. So certain stuff are either still in motion, are planned to be in motion, or are just ultimately going to fail and not go through. And I'm still waiting on that stuff to pass before I can actually speak about it. And trust me, I want to speak about it. Ooh, I got the juice, bro. I got the cheese, man. You know what I mean? But I got to wait. And that one I want to if and when it ever comes to, not fruition, but if I'm hoping it doesn't come to fruition, I don't want to go that route. But if this stuff doesn't work out, then I would look forward to sitting down with a colleague or a friend or someone to break everything down and talk about, to go back and forth within a person. You know what I'm saying? Because we'll see. We'll just see. But I'll tell you more stuff that I learned about doing this stuff. So I learned that sometimes, not always, but it may be a good idea to get stuff in black and white and paper. Contract wise, right? It may be beneficial to write up a mock contract and just nothing crazy. I'm not saying there's this and this, but it may be beneficial to write something like that and to have it, And I know there's other podcasters that do that. Some people have to write a consent and agreement form. Sometimes after you get done doing business, or if you fill out something, or if you're taking out something like that, sometimes you have to fill out a non-disclosure agreement, an NDA. And those type of things are pretty common, depending on who you're, interviewing, operating with. And that's the thing that sucks with it too, is that you want to make sure that the person that you're doing it with it's either going to be good or bad. You know what I mean? And I know it looks like, or it sounds like, yo, I'm going around the bushes on this shit. I'm skateboarding around the thing, and it's intentional because I don't want to talk about it just yet. So we'll cap it on that. But what I can talk about, like I said, is the learning stuff from it. So NDAs, potential contracts and everything, knowing the people you are dealing with, and also accepting the risk. So I took a risk myself, meaning I took a financial risk of booking certain stuff and scheduling and working around that on my own dime, and that's the risk that I took, and that I acknowledged I was going to be taking. So that's why I'm not too crazy on stuff just yet. But I knew that there was going to be a potential, there's a chance that this wasn't going to work out and blah, 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 So the lesson in that too is, if you're going to be investing in something, funding something from your own money, not no sponsorship, not ad revenue, from your own money, just know that it can be volatile, right? It could be a big risk. It could be risks that it's not worth, So you got to be careful when you're going into these certain what's the word I'm looking for? Certain circumstances. If you're going to get into these type of things, know what you're risking, and just be consciously aware of the fact that you might not get anything from it, And that's just money aspect. Now, as far as the actual thing or project that you are doing, that is separate. That one, I always talk, well, not always, but I talk about the clip I've talked about on the podcast before. I've talked about it with friends. I've sent the clip to a few of my friends, and it's the clip that always motivates me and always like kind of like reassures me, or provides reassurance. It's the clip of Kevin Hart when he's on Big Boy Radio. I mean, yeah, Big Boy TV, and he's on the radio, and he's talking about Kevin Hart's talking about like the hardest shit you could do. You know what I'm saying? Is like to give it your fucking all, like to give it 100%, and seeing nothing gained from that, and the next day waking up and be like, I'm gonna do that again. It's like, it's so true. And mind you, compared to him, this is like a micro level because he's way up there. But there is truth in that. You know what I'm saying? Like they're the hardest shit you can do. And I'm not saying like of all time. Obviously, there's way fucking harder things to deal with. We're just talking about finding the motivation aspect to like get up and do this shit. You know what I'm saying? After this failed or this didn't work out or you gave it your all and you didn't see like a freaking anything to show forward progress. And to take all that in is still wake up the next day and be like, I'm going to do this again. Or the next week and be like, I'm going to do this again. I'm going to do this again. Or go nearly 2 years in and be like, I'm going to keep doing this. Almost 2 years in. But it depends on what you're gauging and how you measure your success. Success doesn't have to be stuff that's tangible, right? You don't want to be like, oh, I'm successful because I have these cars. I'm successful because I have this fucking stack of cash. You know what I'm saying? It depends on what you gauge as successful. You can become successful from overcoming an obstacle. The obstacle might have been a fear of being open and talking in front of a camera and microphone. That's success. That's a success, and a win could be, I didn't know I could tap into this creative level. And I'm not talking about me. I'm talking about in general from people, right? I didn't know I could tap into this creative level. So the fact that I did, it's a win. That's a successfulness for someone. I'm sure someone has that, you know what I'm saying? Or it could be someone simple as like, you know what? I'm going to take a chance and I'm going to gamble on myself and I'm going to open up a shop, whether that be a salon, whether it be a barbershop, whether it be a tattoo shop, whether it be a clothing store, like a brick and mortar that you might see, taking those type of things is a win already. So don't get discouraged if these forward progresses don't, happen overnight or just get straight up like influx in your face and be like, boom, you don't have to compare yourself to others to find that success. So going back to my little thing, I knew that there was going to be some type of risk. And like when there's, when people say like, oh, I don't want to jinx it when they'll say something bad. It's like, I don't know if I fall into that too. I don't know if I could say like, this is specifically, you jinxed it. You know what I'm saying? I feel like if it was meant to happen, it was going to happen. But because I don't want to sound like a hypocrite, hypocritical AF. I don't want to sound like a hypocrite, but if it was like going to be going down and it didn't happen, cool. If it did happen like it was supposed to, cool. You know what I mean? Like, that's why it's tough, because you could, on one breath, you can say, if it happens, it was meant to be. And then the other breath, if it doesn't happen, you can be like, it didn't happen because you guessed it. It was meant to be. No, it could also be it didn't happen because shit just didn't align right. Because that's life, scheduling. Shit happens, But it's about how you adjust to it. And you keep it pushing and moving on. Which really brings me to my next thing, my next learning lesson, and my in hindsight, or my Monday quarterbacking thinking, which was I had an opportunity to adjust on the fly, which I take pride in. Normally I take pride in adjusting on the fly and be like, dude, I can adjust to any little circumstance, which is true. And for the most part, it has been true. But I had opportunity when the original plan didn't go through to still create, right? I'll leave it at that, which is still to create. And I guess I was like so thrown off by certain stuff and not prepared correctly for the adjustments that I didn't like, jump on it. And I was like, I can still do this and blah, 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 And I was like, damn, like, no, I don't want to do this. I don't want to rush anything. I don't want to like give out some half-assed product from something that's up there. You know what I mean? I'm like towing the line right here and trying not to like say too much. And I made the conscious decision to essentially remove myself, and Um, what do I want to say to that? Well, I removed myself in a way to kind of like not save face, but like um, to again, not push out something that's going to be half-assed, right? So now that I'm back here and back at the regular studio, I was just thinking like, damn, you know what? Okay, after thinking about it, I probably should have did a little more. Or I probably should have taken advantage of some stuff. And I'm here to say too, that's okay, bro. You don't have to like dwell on it. You don't have to like be down on yourself. You don't have to like gauge yourself for it and be like, fuck, I missed an opportunity. You can acknowledge it. You know what I'm saying? You can do that. That's simple. But then you just have to adjust on the fly, which is what I'm doing right now. So even this week too, like I was just thinking like, yo, I don't know if I want to put, and then on top of that too, I had a potential opportunity to record with someone who's going to be available. But then again, when you rush something and you try to schedule with someone that's rushed and they have to like, rush their thing too, it just doesn't line up with their schedule. And if your schedule's not lined up, theirs not lined up, then you might not get anything out of it, And even then, I'm even just thinking about it right now, it sounds like I'm beating around the bush about something else. But no, I'm just saying like I hit up someone to record, but it was so last minute and it was so freaking conflicted in scheduling that they were like, man, I can't do this, or I can only do this time during this time slot. And I'm like, I don't even have that time slot available to do that. What about this day? And I'm like, this day, like I do have like a 3-hour window, kind of, sort of, but at the same time, like I got to be here. It was just, stuff like that. That's what I mean about conflicting scheduling. But for this one, like I said, I because there was none last week, this week I'm knocking out 2. I don't care. 2. And it'll be caught up too as far as the numbers of episodes, 85, maybe 86, something like that. Yeah. So moving on from all that, let's talk about this other stuff. So podcast alum, Don Caprice, episode 84. I want to see, he was 2 episodes ago. So you guys know him, right? The artist, engineer, producer, owner of the High Frequency Studios in Vallejo. He just dropped his most recent project. He just dropped his most recent album, Ladybug, which was on June 30th, right? Hella happy for him. Shouts out Don, bro. I got your back. And this is some messed up shit, okay? So the night that he dropped his album, like literally the night, hours later, the same night / morning, because we're going, past midnight, whatever, he finds out that someone broke into his studio the night he dropped his album. Like they bashed the windows, you feel me, like busted through the door with bricks. I mean, I'm assuming it's bricks because I saw like it on the floor, but they broke into it and they stole a bunch of shit. Like, come on, man. Like if you listen to that previous episode, he details how he feels like he's unfortunate a lot of the times and has had a lot of bad luck, which sucks. I don't think anybody wants to feel like that. But he just talks about the obstacles he had to overcome, the situations that he had to adjust on the fly with, and, just taking a chance on himself and having a studio and putting out music and being vulnerable enough to do all that. And then to have this happen to you the same night that you're releasing a project, it's like, come on, yo, what are we doing? You know what I'm saying? Like, I get it. Like Vallejo has a bad rap for doing shit. I mean, you could say that about any city realistically. Like I remember talking to my sister and she was saying like, how she wanted to go buy a house somewhere and was like looking for places. And I was just like, bro, Modesto. She was like, man, Modesto's ghetto. And I'm like, not really, certain areas, but that's like any other city. There's like ghetto areas and freaking whatever. You could, bro, I'm sure, but I'm not sure. But I'm sure there's some less nicer areas in Calabasas than there would be in the other side of Calabasas, right? I'm sure there's something like that. But anyway, Vallejo, I'm sure, has those areas and has those parts. But like to see that happen, I mean, you could see like the hurt in his face when he had posted about it. And I hope I should be good to talk about it. I hope I'm not stepping out of line. He put on his Instagram. So what's, I guess, like the first instinct too would be like, man, this fucking sucks. How are you going to recuperate everything? And what I thought was really cool on his end was that he had posted like, I appreciate everybody trying to like shoot some money and shoot some funds. And he was like, I don't need your money. I don't want your money. How you can support me is just by streaming the album, running the numbers up, buying the album if you can, buying some merch, and supporting in that way. That was super cool, because it's easy for us I would say for him or for anybody to just throw up a GoFundMe page and shoot the links out and be like, help the homie, But he just wants your actual support. He can bounce back from that stuff. He can get equipment back. He can pay for this. But the music, he wants you to focus more on the actual album, Ladybug. So go support the homie. Go support the podcast alum, podcast fam, Don Caprice. Salute, man. And check out Ladybug, yeah. Oh, and also a little side note. Shout out to the homie Chim. You see the hat, Chimchilla. Very, very talented individual. He just had at the side. Well, it was at the bank, but it's called the showcasing was a Asylum Elite. I forget the name. I hope I don't butcher that. You know what I'm saying? But basically, it was like a showcasing of local artists, Sacramento specifically. You know what I'm saying? They had an MC that was hosting it, and Mars Parker. Shouts out Marcus. And they were just showcasing a bunch of talent, bro. They had artists rapping. Jay Cyrus. Hope I said it right. I'm trying to think. I remember who else was there. It was quick, bro. It was quick in and out. But yeah, the showcasing for it and everything, right? So Chim, shouts out Chim. He comes out with these hats, and he has his clothing line too, Chimchilla. And his instruments that he makes and his beats are called Chimchilla Beats. So y'all check that out too. So going back to Don, he has his line. The brand Don Caprice, he hooked it up with the shirt, and I posted it too, like the day that his album dropped and everything. But it sucks just seeing that stuff happen to people, and we just don't want that, for anybody else here. But that's a whole nother thing. Y'all just check it out. Yeah. So moving forward from that, I want to talk about, and I gotta, I talked about him a few times too, but I gotta have the homie Mark right back on, because there's like so much music out right now that I want to like sit and break down with. But I'll talk about a little bit of stuff, right? So, Drake's what's it called? Nevermind, or what is it called? Something like that. The whatever graphic R&B. I say graphic. I'm talking about his album cover, whatever style tagging thing that was, and it was like a R&B like uppity, upbeat tempo type of thing. The album, no, what is it called? Nevermind. Hold on. Is it Forget It? Nevermind. What is it? Freaking. Give me 1 second while I check this. Wait, why am I on Instagram? It's Honestly Nevermind. Okay. Yeah, that one. Okay, here's the thing about this one. I was talking about it with Gil last night. I don't know how I feel about it just yet. Because to be honest, I haven't even finished it. And I haven't finished it because I couldn't really get through it right away. Like most albums, I'll give it like a whole full listen. Or if I can't give it a whole full listen, I'll do it justice by visiting like half of it. And if I know the next half is going to be like rushed, half-assed, and not, giving it my full attention and everything, I won't listen to it until I have like the time to like properly break it down or take it in and fully digest it, And this, I don't even know if I want to finish the other half. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not saying it's fucking, I'm not one of the ones that like bash albums like that. I'm not saying it's bad. I just haven't listened to the other half yet. And I haven't had the want. That's why I haven't had the want to go back to listen to the second half of it yet. It's like I'm still bumping Kendrick's album. Like it's on repeat. Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. I'm still listening to that one. That second part of the album, the second disc of it. Well, not disc, but the second part of the album. That's my favorite so far. But I'm still playing that one because I'm still breaking it down and enjoying it more and finding, I guess, verses from it but actually verses on it that are like hitting more right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm like, okay, this one hits a little more. So I'm still on that one. Logic just dropped Vinyl Days, his last album Like he's going to be going the independent route, and this is going to be his last album off of fucking Def Jam. I don't know. I had like a brain fog right there, but Def Jam, you know. So his last album on it. I mean, he had Funk Flex like MC in it. He had features like Wiz, you feel me? The Game, Russ. I know I'm missing a few, but it was heavily like sampled, good samples too. You know what I'm saying? And I've always been a fan of Russ ever since like 2012 when Quiles and Monty, shouts out Quiles, shouts out Monty. They're the ones that put me on initially. I think Quiles is the one that put everybody else on because, you know, he was from Maryland too. So he's the one that initially put that little spark in me. And ever since then, I became a fan. I got his merch, saw him live a couple times. And he's someone I would like to have on the podcast too. So Logic, or if y'all know Logic, or if y'all can reach out to him, y'all let him know that I want to have him on the podcast. We could do it via Zoom, or I'll fly out there, wherever you're at. I know he moved to like Montana or some shit like that because he had left LA and had that little hiatus and retired and then unretired. And I want to talk about all that, you know? So, yo, Logic, if you're seeing this, you feel me? Hit me up. But yeah, so his album Vinyl Days is out. And it's interesting too, because like he's like back in his bag with it, you know, and there's a lot to ingest too. It's a lot of breakdown from it. Like he's clapping back. He's like saying like, you know, how he got retired, how he unretired and all that stuff, and the feelings behind everything, switching from leaving the label to going back to independent to, you know, having like a full circle moment with all that shit, and then just being like, cool, bro, this is me. 100% just me. No fakes, no gimmicks. I'm not changing or adjusting to anything industry-wise. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing that. At least that's how I interpreted it. So Vinyl Days, great fucking album. Another one that came out. I don't even consider this an album, more so like a project. But look, and I'm sure like a lot of us Northern California, or I would say California heads in general, we've all been a fan of this dude for a while now. And that's Iamsu. He just has the Iamsu, the I Am Summer, right? That one, he's still getting it in. I feel like Iamsu right now is still a bit underrated. You know what I'm saying? Like at the height of HBK, when they were like popping. I knew they were popping before I had even moved back to California. I was living in Georgia, and this is when Red Nose was hot. And I knew that the reach was hot when motherfuckers in Georgia were bumping that shit in the clubs. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know how hot a record has to be, or you know how popping a song has to be to be from the Bay Area and to be played like universally everywhere. You know what I'm saying? It's like you can get the same song. I mean, like Too Short's an example of it. You know what I'm saying? Like when Shake That Monkey came out, that's universally everywhere, but it's from the Bay. You know what I'm saying? So when Red Nose came on, I remember a lot of people were playing it in the club. I remember a lot of the homies that I was with that are not from California, or don't even really listen to California music like that, were playing it. And this is before I was going to move back. So I knew of them then. I didn't really know much about them at that time. So we're talking about 2012, 2013. And this is like Hipster Girl, right? When Hipster Girl came out too. And what else? What's the other one with Sage and Iamsu? Having a fucking brain fog again. It's not Red Nose. Not that one. But anyway, so when I came back, that's when I already like kind of was putting on the music and listening to all that. And he's, you know, you got to think the last decade still being consistent, you know, and I think he would, you know, I don't think this is a crazy absurd statement to say that, you know, they were at a high and they kind of, not that they kind of dwindled down, but that style kind of dwindled down a little bit because trap was just now starting to come up, like that trap, you know, like Migos was coming up. So it's not that they were like diminishing. It just felt like that style of rap was kind of diminishing while trap was just gonna go up. Because you gotta remember at the time too, this is like Migos off of Versace with Drake, on the come up with Fight Night with Rick Ross, Hannah Montana. A lot of people didn't even know about that song. And then at the same time, you got Future. Future's coming out too. Gone to the Moon mixtape coming up. And then Dirty Sprite 2. And all of a sudden, that's when you start getting, you know, the littles, the Uzi Vert. And that whole like style started taking over. And at that height of it, I mean, that's kind of like where they were like, you know, the down south trap shit was like kind of running the game, I would say, for music for a while. And then it slowly started going to like back to like New York drill type of music, taking over Chicago, you know, drill, that trill or whatever the fuck it is, that style of rap is kind of like, you know what I'm saying? So it's just like, it's in phases and eras. So like, again, to take it back to Iamsu, for the last decade, well, you know, despite all this shit going on and this dwindling or this maybe rising the other, he just kept putting out mixtapes and music and albums and just stayed consistent. And then, you know, the HBK kind of, the group itself kind of like not decimated, but kind of like, you know, split apart, but, you know, still cool with P-Lo. Sage the Gemini still doing his thing. But he's just been consistent with it and everything, you know? So he's another person, like I said, that I reached out to about being in the podcast. So we'll see if it comes to fruition. I'm just speaking it, you know, meditation, manifesting it to happen. So I reached out to him too. But yeah, he's still the I Am Summer, bro. Like, that's where I like, me personally, I like that type of grit, I guess you would say. It's the consistency when all this going on. It's like, yo, there's this, blah, 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 blah. But you're being consistent. And with him specifically, we're talking about the music, you know? I remember one time I went to LA and I was visiting one of my homies that was down there. And I got a gauge of like the music scene kind of based off what they were playing down there. I was in LA. We went to like a little car show outside of like an In-N-Out or some shit like that. And there was a few people bumping Iamsu. And I was like, oh shit, y'all listen to Iamsu like that over here too? And he was like, yeah, you listen to him. You know, he slaps over here. I went down another time. Someone was playing it passing by. And I remember he was just like, the fuck? He's like, no one listens to Iamsu over here anymore. And I was like, damn, like that shit went quick. Because it wasn't like, it was like a 2-year apart or a 2-year gap where I had just been there, you know? Like I was with him kicking it. And then like fucking 6 months later or something like that, I went down there again. And then it was just like, oh no, we're not playing them like that anymore. So it's a different gauge for everything, you know what I'm saying? And he's just consistent with it. And we'd love to have him on amongst all of HBK. I reached out to P-Lo too. I'm waiting. What's up? Y'all, if y'all know P-Lo and y'all can put in contact with me with him, you know what I'm saying? Tell him I've been trying to reach out about being on the podcast. So I greatly appreciate it. But yeah, y'all, this will come out the 4th of July. Happy 4th. I would like to say, but you know, today's my grandma's birthday. Happy birthday, Grandma. And by the time this comes out, it'll be my grandpa's birthday. So, Gramps, love you. And happy birthday. We'll see you soon, okay? Y'all get ready for another episode coming out this week. And then, depending on what other pieces, you know, move or don't move, and then I can break down a lot more things in detail. So, love y'all. Y'all stay safe. Peace.